Aloha Ohana, I hope you're all having a great week. Welcome to another episode of True Crime Thursdays. Yay! That's 3 in a row. If you're stopping by for the first time, hi, welcome. My name is Kai, and here on this channel we talk about all true crime cases that happen in the 808 state. Please remember that these videos are intended to raise awareness, and I try my best in researching all the facts surrounding a case before I compile it into one video. Also, please remember that this video and this entire channel really is intended for viewers 18 years old and older. If you've been in Hawaii for a long time, or if you were born and raised in Hawaii, you probably have heard about this story. And you can form your own opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm entitled to mine, you are yours. What I highly suggest is that you do your own research. If you're interested about a certain case, do your own research and come up with your own conclusion. Everybody's entitled to that. And, someone had asked me, well, why do you even do these true crime videos on YouTube? Like, what do you get out of it? Honestly, I get out of it, I never want these victim stories and these victims to be forgotten. I feel it's important that their voice and their stories be told. Also, there's a lot of cases that I cover that are unsolved, and I feel that a lot of these victims and the victims' families never got justice. And a lot of things fall through the cracks. Like, there's a lot of shady investigations here in Hawaii. There's a lot of people that get away with a lot of crime and murder in Hawaii. And I just feel like it's really important to share these stories. And I truly enjoy making these videos every week. All right, let's just start from the very beginning. DIANE Suzuki was born on May 14, 1966 to parents Masaharu and Yuri Suzuki. DIANE is the youngest of 5. She has 4 sisters, Karen, Susan, Pam, Pat, and then DIANE being the youngest. In 1985, at 19 years old, DIANE was attending the University of Hawaii at Manoa, aspiring to be a journalist. For part-time work, she worked as a children's dance instructor and performer at the Rosalie Wooden Dance Academy studio in Aiea. On Saturday, July 16, 1985, DIANE was scheduled to work at the Rosalie Dance Studio, and then after work she had plans to meet up with some of her friends, and they were all gonna go to the North Shore. DIANE was supposed to finish working at 3:00 p.m. and then her friends would stop by the studio and pick her up at 3:15 p.m. So DIANE goes to work, and it's just like any other work day. She finishes at 3:00 p.m. and then at 3:15, her friends stop by the studio to pick up DIANE. But then when her friends arrive at the studio, DIANE is nowhere to be seen. Now the strange thing is that DIANE's purse, keys, and her belongings were all left at the studio. And the friends thought that, this was pretty suspicious, because DIANE was the type of person that she would be where she said she was going to be, and she wouldn't just up and leave her life. She wouldn't just vanish, just disappear without telling anybody. DIANE was definitely adored by her friends and family, and she was working and going to school, and, everybody knew that DIANE was going to be someone and that she was going to go somewhere. So DIANE had no reason to just run away from her life. So DIANE's friends looked next door to the parking lot next to the studio, and they find DIANE's car parked there. But then again, there's no signs of DIANE. So they're super worried by this point, and so they call DIANE's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Masaharu and Yuri Suzuki. And the parents are super worried, so what they do is they drive down to the studio in Aiea and they park and they wait, because they're wondering, like, okay, if DIANE's gonna come back to the studio because her car is here, all of her things are here, we want to be here, we want to make sure that she's okay, so we're gonna sit here and we're gonna wait for DIANE to get back. So Mr. and Mrs. Suzuki are sitting in their car and they're just waiting, patiently for DIANE. So they see these 3 people carrying this huge trunk coming out of the dance studio. I mean, the trunk was big and heavy. It needed 3 people to carry it. So the 3 people are carrying this trunk, and they place this big heavy trunk onto a vehicle. Now at the time, this confused DIANE's parents. They weren't suspicious as to what was inside the trunk at the time. Of course, they didn't think their precious daughter was in the trunk. They had no reason to believe or think that way. So the Suzukis realized that their daughter is nowhere to be found, and you know, there were no cell phones back then, there were no pagers. So they call the police and they report their daughter Diane missing. Now at first, you know, the police treat Diane's case as a missing persons case. However, as investigators and police begin to interview people and the events that led up to Diane's disappearance, things begin to take a more sinister turn. The police interview a man that worked at the studio as a photographer. And this man, his name is Dewey Hamasaki. And the reason why the police interview him, well, one, he worked as a studio as a photographer. Two, he was there working the day Diane disappeared. Three, he was one of the 3 people that was seen carrying the trunk out of the studio. 4, Dewey had a mad crush on Diane. And although Diane didn't feel the same, Dewey still really liked Diane. And 5, it was said that Dewey became very jealous when he saw Diane talking to a boy outside of the studio. I mean, Dewey was so jealous that he actually confronted Diane about this other boy that she was talking to. Now, at the time, Diane was dating a boy by the name of Lester Ganton. The police, they have Dewey take a polygraph test, and Dewey fails miserably. Dewey was also discovered to be covered in scratches on him the day of Diane's disappearance. And when the police ask him, you know, hey Dewey, where'd you get those scratches from? Dewey tells the police that he got the scratches from a rooster, you know, on his father's farm. So although Dewey failed the polygraph test miserably, it wouldn't lead to a conviction because there was no physical evidence that Dewey did anything to Diane. There was no body, so therefore there was no crime. Marsh around Dewey's house was searched, but nothing was found. Dewey was released for lack of evidence, and he was never arrested. Case goes cold for about 5 or 6 years. Now, in 1991 or 1992, around that time, Luminol is introduced to Hawaii. And luminol is a chemical that when it's sprayed onto surfaces or wherever you spray it, it can actually pick up traces of blood. Even if someone was to wipe away that blood, if you spray this luminol on the surface, if blood was there at any point, any given time, the luminol will actually pick that up. Now, police, they asked for 2 search warrants. They asked for a search warrant for the studio, and they asked for a search warrant for Dewey's father's pig farm. So the search warrant for the studio is approved first. And so the police, they go, you know, the investigators and police, they go to the studio, they use the luminol, and they discover that there were lots of traces of blood in the bathroom in the studio. But because Diane's blood was not available, unfortunately, investigators were unable to test the blood that they found in the studio, in the studio bathroom, to Diane's blood. But police figured that this is where the crime and the event of what happened to Diane took place. 6 months later, the search warrant for Dewey Hamasaki's father's pig farm is granted. While searching the pig farm, investigators find a section of a stone wall that seems to be newly rebuilt. Now, while the investigators are at Dewey Hamasaki's father's pig farm, right? Mr. Hamasaki, let's just call Dewey's father Mr. Hamasaki. Mr. Hamasaki is very calm, he's very relaxed, he's answering all the questions the investigators are asking him. But as soon as the investigators divert their attention and focus to the section of the stone wall that seems to be newly rebuilt, Mr. Hamasaki becomes visibly agitated. And like he's very annoyed that they're focusing on this section. Now, at the time, the Hamasakis did have a family attorney. His name is Keith Shigatomi. So Keith Shigatomi, what he does, he pulls the prosecutor aside, right? And this is off the record. And he asked the prosecutor if he would be willing to charge the suspects with manslaughter if the suspects plead guilty. And the prosecutor, he is not interested in this at all. And he, plainly says, no, I'm not interested, because the prosecutor wanted to find evidence of murder. So this is very interesting what happens while they're out on the pig farm looking for evidence. One of the investigators, he removes like this banana stump. He starts digging, okay? And what he finds is some clothes that are very similar to what Diane was wearing the day that she went missing. And it was also similar, or looked to be the size that Diane would be, would fit, would wear, And again, Diane is a petite woman. She was, 4 feet 11. She was about 109 pounds. So very slim, tiny, petite. She was fun size. The soil beneath the wall was tested, and the results indicated that the wall was newly built about 6 months prior to the day that the investigators were out there searching the property. Now, investigators and police believe that the time lapse between the two warrants really gave the Hamasakis that leeway to dispose of Diane's body. In 1993, Keith Kaneshiro, who was the city prosecutor, and he was also a friend of the Suzukis, he tried to reopen the case. But after 300 hours of grand jury testimony and thousands of money spent on the investigation, sadly, no charges were ever filed. The court declined to press charges, saying there was a lack of damning evidence, and the investigation pretty much stopped after that. Diane Suzuki was never heard from or seen from alive ever again. Although Diane's family never got closure, in 1997, the 12th year anniversary since Diane's disappearance, the family did hold a memorial service to, say goodbye to Diane. Diane's mother, Yuri Suzuki, passed away in 1998, and Diane's father, Masaharu Suzuki, passed away in June 2016 at the age of 94. So I did say there were 3 people carrying that large trunk out of the studio on July 16, 1985, the day Diane disappeared. In some articles, I've read that the 3 people were Dewey Hamasaki, his father, Mr. Hamasaki, and his mother. And in some other articles, I've read that the 3 people were Dewey Hamasaki, his father, Mr. Hamasaki, and his sister. Alright guys, that's pretty much all I have for you on this case. So let me know what you guys think about what happened to Diane. I'm super curious to know your thoughts and your theories and your opinions. Alright, leave that down below. I look forward to that. I will see you guys all next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Bye! Bye! Bye!